Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Deckin Around. My name is Tyler.
I'm Steve.
And today we are lucky enough to have an amazing playing card designer on the show, Karin. But before we jump into it, we are going to kind of walk through some of the fun stuff we've been, working on with the show. And before we even get to that, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. So Steve, I know we've been working on a lot of fun stuff lately. A lot of new content's been out there. Some people may have seen the reviewed video that we dropped yesterday.
Yes.
You getting excited for a lot of this stuff, man?
I am. It means we're going to be busier, but
yeah.
we have some really cool stuff coming up. Some new things that people haven't seen, and some things that we're just going to kind of switch up a little bit.
Which we're really excited to see how you guys like some of the new content that we're going to be putting out. So as always, make sure to let us know what you think about these things. Send us a message on Instagram, drop comments in the videos, just any feedback. We're always open to it, and we really do appreciate the support and the insight you guys provide.
Yes. That actually brings us to talk about our sponsor this week.
Yeah. So today's sponsor for this video is Lit Cardistry Baseball Series Playing Cards, which is actually live on Kickstarter right now. If you haven't checked it out, you should definitely go take a look at the deck. It is inspired by the Major League series of movies from, I believe, the 90s. Absolutely phenomenal movie series. So
making me feel old.
I mean, listen, they're some of my favorite movies, so no doubt about it, they're great. But if you haven't seen the movies, go check them out. And if you haven't checked out the Kickstarter yet, go make sure to look at Lit Cardistry Baseball Series Playing Cards.
And if you've ever collected baseball cards, it even comes with that powdered pink gum. I don't know if it has powder on it, but it's that pink stick gum, which is just amazing.
You'll have to get it and let us all know whether or not it tastes like the original gum we all remember.
Yeah, for sure.
So now, without further ado, here is Karin.
Karin!
Hi, everyone. Perfectly
the amazing
fine.
person behind Bona Fide Designs.
Sure. Here I am, live from Spain.
Live from Spain, which we really appreciate you coming on so late at night as well.
Thanks. Me too. Excited to be here. Thanks for calling me.
Well, hey,
we've been waiting for this for a while, actually.
Yeah.
It's been like, what, 3 months? Almost 3 months.
Yeah.
That just goes to show you how far out we book, which is crazy. But
yeah. Which, you know what, though? I think that also goes to show how excited we were when the show first started and where our aspirations were. And it's so exciting to really bring some of these designers on who are behind a lot of the card brands that we all know and love. So, again, we're really honored to have you on and just kind of chat with you tonight.
Me too.
So how have things been in, before we even get into cards, how have things been in Spain in general with the pandemic and with life in general for you?
For me, it has been pretty good. Busy, as always, but that's nothing new. For Spain, I'm pretty sure that everyone has seen the news. It's been pretty bad.
And have you found that, are you working from home most of the time now, or things? Yeah. That's good. At least you're playing it safe.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, at least for me, it's perfect because I work in Barcelona, and I spend 4 hours to get to work and back home every day.
What?
So for me, it's perfect.
4 hours?
Yeah.
That's a long commute.
Well, that's why I said that it's horrible when I have to go to the office. It's like your whole day is spent just going to Barcelona and coming back.
I feel like that's a lot.
That's crazy.
Very similar to people who commute to New York City from other states in the US. They get those long commute times and
Connecticut.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's impressive that you do it, and that sounds not fun. So hopefully you get the chance to either read a lot of books or listen to a lot of podcasts on the trip.
Well, I'm studying. Actually, I'm studying. Even though I'm pretty old, I'm studying.
Nice. Or better yet, you can even design some more decks while you're traveling.
I don't know, on the train.
That will benefit us. That will benefit us more.
Yeah. And I you know what though, and you're never too old to learn new things, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
What are you studying now?
3D animation.
Oh wow!
Oh.
And so I think things that we kind of chatted a little bit about on Monday for our pre-show was that you don't have formal training in design. You kind of came to this more of a hobby.
Yeah, exactly.
What kind of originally prompted you to want to design a deck of cards?
Well, it was rather random, to be honest.
I feel like that's a general answer from a lot of people.
Yeah, there's not an exciting story behind or something, meaningful. No, it just randomly came the opportunity. I just came to know Kickstarter, and I came to see all these decks. I have always liked decks of playing cards because, well, like I said in my description in my website, we had, ever since I was a child, we had a very old deck that my grandfather kept from the war years, and it was really intricately illustrated, and I always loved that. So it kind of, when I saw all these decks, all these different decks, mainly the ones, the decks from Steve Minty, how do you say that?
Minty.
Yeah.
Minty? Okay, sorry for my Spanish beforehand. So, okay, that and Lorenzo's decks, I seriously love his decks. So these intricate art styles, I really loved it, and I thought, well, I could try it. So I tried it.
Nice.
And that's pretty much it.
You've done a great job. How many decks have you created so far, total?
Let me count. Well, I wouldn't say that I've created so many decks because there have been variations of one deck, like 3 variations. First of all, the Nouveau decks, and then the second version, which are pretty much the same, just a little. The art style was a little different, but pretty much the same, and the gems decks. So 3 of the same. Then we have the Monte Cristo decks.
Yep.
And the 3 Musketeers decks, and the King's Game decks.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it.
Like we were talking about this before, where a lot of people might not know who's behind Bonafide Design. Obviously, as everybody knows now, it's you. But so many people have one of those decks in their collection. I'm sure if they're like avid collectors, they have one, if not more, of those decks. So now they can kind of say, "Oh, she created those." I literally found you when I saw King's Game, and I was blown away. That thing was amazing. That deck is phenomenal. I would love to see another edition of that in 100% all foil. I would love to see that.
Yeah, there will be another one. That's for sure. Nice. Though I can't say when, but there will be another one.
Take your time. There's plenty of stuff coming out right now.
There are, I don't know how closely you follow Kickstarter still, but there are so many decks that are coming out.
Oh my God, it's crazy.
It's not going to stop anytime soon, so.
No, it's only gonna get more and more. Just let me know when you're going to put yours out so I don't put mine out at around the same time.
There you go. Oh, man.
Sure.
I gotta talk to all the best designers and be like, yo, when are you putting out your next deck? When are you putting out your next? Just make sure like I'm the only one gonna do it. So people be like, oh, it's the only deck around. I guess I'll just
I'll back it.
I guess I'll back it. I haven't backed one this month. Let's back
it. Either this or the one that looks like it was drawn with crayons by a 5-year-old. This one's the better of the two.
Oh goodness. Anyway,
so with your decks and kind of coming to the appreciation of decks from an early age, what made you kind of go with some of the literature backing, like the literature inspiration, I guess, for your decks?
Because I always liked reading.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it. Also, there isn't any other exciting story behind that either. So
I think that's that's a reasonable one. I think it's interesting to see how you kind of come to that, even if it is you just like reading, because I think it says a lot about then what your style of books that you enjoy are. And I think 3 Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo are 2 classics that I think the world over most people know. I mean, they've been adapted to television and films countless times at this point, and they really are classics that transcend where you were born, which is such a really cool thing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so that's pretty much it because I like that kind of books. I always like them, so I thought that it would be a good idea.
Okay.
Nice. Do we have any in the future that you're thinking about doing that's connected to any more books that you can kind of let us in on?
This series will have 5 more decks.
Ooh,
Oh, that's really exciting.
that is exciting. That is
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah,
I feel like there's
and
going to be a
I
lot of
already have
speculation.
two books that I've chosen. One is Frankenstein, and the
Oh
other is
wow.
Dracula, and the other one is
Nice.
Dracula.
Oh, Dracula. I cannot
Yeah,
wait. I'm
No,
not
yeah,
so
yes.
that's a cool. I'm a huge vampire fan, and I feel like there's a lot of vampire decks out there just
yeah, me
not
too.
done properly. So I'm looking
But
forward to it.
the right vampires, okay, not the Twilight thing.
Those aren't vampires. Those aren't
Yeah.
vampires.
Those are just called, I don't even want to say they're hipsters because they're not hipsters, but they're like modern interpretation of vampires, which is so
No,
horrible.
the real
Yeah,
vampires.
the minute a vampire has glitter on it, they're not a vampire anymore. Any vampire that hangs out during the day, not a vampire.
Exactly.
I think that's fair.
Unless you have the ring like Angel and Buffy and the Vampire Slayer, then you're cool.
Steve is showing his true colors here today. I'm excited to hear some of his favorite television shows.
I'm a big fan of Buffy, and I love vampires. So there you go.
Well, I can't give you any guff about that, dude. Joss Whedon is an amazing TV director. So
yeah, I mean he is, and Sarah Michelle Gellar when I was growing up, I loved her.
There you go.
I love those like badass female like actresses like Dark Angel, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like the ones that just kick ass,
Steve, you're definitely a child of the 90s.
Yeah, actually, I'm not a child.
Really.
I'm not a child of the 90s,
you were
bro.
a young adult of the 90s.
I graduated in 93.
Oh.
Don't tell anybody.
I always forget that, so my bad.
I like Karen's responses. Whoa. That's so funny.
That's why I keep Steve around because it makes me feel young. So
Thanks.
I can relate to that. Yeah.
So while design is not your primary kind of day job, we mentioned that. What kind of got you into 3D animation now? Is that just kind of an offshoot from being interested in successfully designing these decks, or do you have a whole nother kind of project and direction you want to go with that?
Well, because actually I have tried working with AutoCAD many years ago, like when I was in high school, which was quite long ago as well. So ever since then, I always liked 3D stuff. But I'm not that much into environments as I am into characters and all that stuff. So I kind of decided to study it. I never thought about doing anything related formally with design. But a few years ago, I thought that it would be a good opportunity to get into it professionally.
Nice.
And so do you do a lot of design work freelance other than cards?
Not much really, because I seriously don't have any time to do that. So I would like to do it, but I don't have time between studies and I work full time. So now I have more time because of the situation, but usually you go out at 6 a.m. and you come back at 8 p.m. So you seriously don't have time to do anything. So
that's a really long day.
Yeah, that's painful.
And that's another reason why I kind of put on hold everything related to cards for now. I do have projects in mind. I do have ideas that I already started working on. I have series that I have to finish, like King's Game. I already said that it's going to have at least one more deck, that's for sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to make a third deck. Not sure yet. And the books series as well. Like I said, 5 more decks. So I have projects I'm working on. And
you better get to work.
Yeah. And
You have
I
people
also,
waiting for these decks, Karin. Come on.
well, I'm sorry, they have to wait a little more.
That's the right attitude. That's definitely the right
Yeah,
attitude.
we can wait. We can wait.
Well, rather than rushing it and not delivering a good product, mainly because since I already have some experience with Kickstarter, and if you rush things too much, you're going to have a really hard time delivering everything on time, which I had
Yeah.
trouble with. I personally had quite a lot of trouble with that. So I don't
Mm,
want to go through that again.
right.
For me, for myself, and also for all the backers, because I think that it's unfair for them. So I'm going to make a new deck the moment I see that everything is all right. I'm ready to give a proper product and I'm ready to deliver it on time. So when the
Nice.
time comes, which I'm not sure when it will be, but not for now, that's for sure. At least not for half a year, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe a year or two, then then I will deliver a new product.
You're painting my heart, Karin.
Well,
I don't know if we can wait 2 years. I don't know.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
I'm
Like you
sure I
said,
will be. Doesn't mean I can't complain about it.
like we said, there's a lot of decks coming out. We'll
Yeah,
keep
hopefully.
occupied, and when they drop, we'll be just as excited as if they drop tomorrow. So
Yeah, that's true.
At least your pockets will be happy. That's for sure.
yes, I mean, I feel like this month, seeing everything that's dropped, even in the past like 2 weeks, people are probably trying to move all their budget around and figure out where they can get some extra cash.
Well,
That's for
that's
sure.
right.
Yeah. So coming to Kickstarter the first time, what was one of the things that, and you said, like you said, there were things that you kind of didn't maybe handle as well as you wanted to originally, and with some of your campaigns. What do you think one of the things you would kind of suggest to someone who's looking to come to Kickstarter as something to kind of be aware of?
Well, first of all, actually, I had two unsuccessful campaigns before I funded my Nouveau decks. So,
Oh, wow.
first of all, what I would suggest anyone who starts a campaign is to get to know people from how do you say that in English?
The community?
That right, from the community. So get to know them, be it artists, be it collectors. Get to United Cards, for example.
Yeah.
Talk to people and get some insight on how everything works. Get feedback and suggestions, because when I
Yeah.
started at first, I like plunged into it without thinking. I just said, well, here's my design. I'm gonna start a Kickstarter, and there's nothing else to it. Well, that's not it. There's a lot of story behind. You have to be, and more so now than it was when I started, because my first deck was around 2015, I think. Yeah, like 5 years ago, more or less, 5 or 6 years ago. I'm not sure. So when I first started, the community wasn't so wide. There weren't so many designers,
Yeah.
and there weren't so many collectors. It's something that grew pretty fast in the past few years. So
Right.
right now, collectors and backers in general will look much more in every detail, not just in your design, because there are many amazing designs, but also on how you handle your campaigns, on how you handle your production, on how you handle your communication with the backers. It's really
Yeah.
important. So, okay, you have a design, but put it on hold for a moment and actually get to know how the campaign works, how Kickstarter works, and how should you communicate with your both with your backers and the uh, how do you say that? Oh my god, I'm sorry.
No,
It's
no,
it's
the
midnight.
vendors maybe like the vendors or
Mm,
fulfillment people or
no, 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 not the vendors. The printers. Okay.
There you go.
gotcha.
I'm sorry. So you also need to know what they expect from you, because for example, my first campaign, I had the design, but that design didn't meet the
The
Like
specifics?
The specifics, yes. Also, because the colors weren't right, the size wasn't right, everything, the design needed to be tweaked. So I didn't know anything of that. I
Interesting.
I knew nothing at all about it. So I just made a design like I had a really childish mindset when I started my first campaign, and it's no surprise that it went nowhere. So after that, after that, I kind of got to know Mike Rutledge from United Cardists, and he helped me a lot.
Nice.
Because, well, he suggested that we make Nouveau the United Cardist deck of the year, and
cool.
I of course I got a lot of help from him and from everyone from the community, and also from other designers, like for example Lorenzo, like I mentioned at first when we started talking. So pretty much that I would suggest that get to know the community, get to know how it works, and leave the design for later. First of all, you need to be sure that you can handle it. If you can't handle it, it doesn't matter how good your design is. You won't go anywhere.
Yeah.
I think
that's definitely
amazing advice. Like, such good advice, right?
Well, and I think it's something that we still see today on Kickstarters. When we look at Kickstarter decks every weekend, like we sit there and there's 4 or 5 decks that we know who the designer is. We see their pictures on Instagram. We see them interacting with the community. But out of those, we probably have another 7 to 10 decks who you have no idea who the person is. They are missing key things that as a collector or a buyer, you want to know, like who's printing your deck. And then it goes through the whole process of being like, all right, well, you don't know who this person is, so you can't even reach out to be like, hey, like, did you think about including this? You should try tweaking this on your Kickstarter. And it makes it so difficult because I think one of the great things about this community, for the most part, is that they're supportive and they really are looking to help.
Exactly. Yes, I have to completely agree with that. And also, because like I said, it changed a lot in the past few years. And what's happening now, at least in my opinion, is that many new designers go to Kickstarter and say, well, there are like a zillion new campaigns and there are many of them that are getting funded. So I'm pretty sure that I have this good idea, this amazing idea, and I'm gonna make a great Kickstarter. I'm gonna start it and have it funded in like 2 to 3 days. So that's the problem, because they see great designers that have already a lot of decks behind them. They have a lot of experience, and they think that they are going to do exactly the same with the first deck or with the first couple decks. Well, that's not going to happen. At least it's not going to happen if you are a new designer. If you already have a fan base because you design other stuff, for example, branding, or you're an illustrator or whatever, you design other stuff and have your fan base, okay, yes, that's probably going to help you a lot. But if that's not the case, which is usually not, then you will have a hard time getting your campaign ahead. So forget about all these great designers that already have a long history in this community. They have a lot of decks behind them because they started many years ago and they already are in that position that pretty much everyone knows them. Everyone in the community knows them, and everything they do will be good. And we know that. And that's it. So that's pretty much it.
I'll be the one that says,
will be good. Personal taste excluded from it.
No, well, that's pretty much
it.
Names, but being honest, that's it. So it's like a singer or a band. You like a band, or for example, soccer. It's something that people from Spain can relate more to. So you are a fan of Barca or Real Madrid or whatever. Right. It doesn't matter if they're playing like drunk chicken. It doesn't matter. Right. You are going to love them nevertheless. So that's pretty much it. Okay, because you know that they probably had a bad day today, so it's not a problem. They probably had 2 bad matches, but that's it. But you know that they are good. So that happens with seasoned designers. You know that probably you don't like one deck, a couple of decks, but you know that they are good. That's it.
Right.
So that's the advice. Don't look at their campaigns and compare yourself to them and think that you're going to do the same, because that's not going
Right.
to happen. When I first started, there weren't so many designers out there. If you see the playing cards campaigns for the past few years, it has grown amazingly fast. There weren't nearly so many campaigns back then, and there weren't nearly so many designers back then either, because when we see someone else's success, we think that we can do the same. Well, yes, we can do the same, but if we do exactly the same that they do, if we do something different, if we don't deliver exactly the same thing that they are doing, design excluded, we don't we aren't as responsive as them, we aren't as professional as them, well, you will have a really hard time. That's my advice. Not to be pessimistic, but to be honest. That's
Hey, let me just drop a knowledge, crazy knowledge. Everyone's talking in the chat, being like, "Oh my God, such great insight!" It's literally, I think the name of this, the title of this video should be like, "All designers should watch this video," or "All future card creators," or whatever. It's gonna seriously, it's important to hear that because a lot of, I guess, the big name designers, I guess you could say, who still use Kickstarter, they don't really talk about it. They just do their campaign, it crushes, and then that's the end of it. Then they wait a month. Well, I mean, nowadays, nobody's even waiting a month. They're waiting like 2 weeks, and then they're throwing up another Kickstarter campaign.
But that's normal, because when they came to Kickstarter, they were the only ones, pretty much. So they already have a name for themselves. Sorry. So it's obviously not the same for them for when they started as it is for someone who is starting right now. It's completely different, has nothing to do. And also the collectors also have knowledge that they didn't have before. They also have experience that they didn't have before. And they have many campaigns that probably didn't go as they expected. And that they are playing with their money. So they are looking much more into things right now than they did back then. That's what I think, at least.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I mean, I think before, way back in the day, I mean, I don't want to say way back in the day, I'm talking like 3 years ago, not even, but it's interesting.
It's back in the day.
It's interesting just looking at some campaigns like Mint, and, I mean, obviously those are like the high level campaigns, but nowadays you look at decks on Kickstarter, and I mean, Tyler and I do a recap every week, so we see every single deck that gets funded that's on Kickstarter, or decks that don't get funded. And it's interesting. We noticed so many more decks are getting like $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for their campaign, and sometimes on the decks we're just like, how'd that happen?
Yeah,
So and I think it's like you said, it's just, maybe they've done their homework and their campaign is spot on. There's always the outliers that you just don't understand how they made 284,000, but they did it.
Well, like every other single product out there, because playing cards, they are still a product that you buy. So there's a lot of psychology behind it. So if you put together a good campaign, even though your design probably isn't to the taste of most of the people, you will probably get funded. That's what I think.
No.
So that, and also, like I said before, it depends a lot on the person behind the campaign, because they probably already have a fan base coming from something else that they did before, or from their own personal project or another job, who knows. So that will probably help a lot as well.
Yeah. Are you looking for, you think you're going to be doing another Kickstarter campaign, or do you think you're at the point where you can just drop it on your site and
I think I will stick to Kickstarter for now.
Yeah.
Why? Because at the end of the day, if it's the best platform to know if people actually want what you're offering. If they don't want it, there's no point in printing it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's something else that I would suggest new designers to be very, very, very aware of. the costs. It's not gonna be cheap.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be cheap in no way. So if you are going to make a Kickstarter campaign, you have to be sure that the amount that you are asking for is actually going to cover all the costs.
Right.
Because if you don't think too deep into it, and you probably fund your deck, you probably fund your campaign, and then you are faced with the production, and your funds aren't enough to face the production,
Right.
then you're pretty much done as a designer
And
because
we've
you're
seen
not
that
going
a
to
lot
deliver
with
it.
shipping. Yeah, like a
Yeah.
lot of times people end up running out on the shipping side, and you either eat a significant cost of shipping or you have to figure out something else. And, you know, a lot of times people are obviously putting their trust in you with the Kickstarter campaign. So then for you to turn around after it's funded and be like, oh, well, just kidding, I messed up. Well,
Yeah.
at that point, it's too late almost. So,
Well, if you're looking to have a future as a designer, you have to look a lot into this stuff, and you can obviously make mistakes like everyone else because we are people, we are human,
Yeah.
like you, like you, and like everyone out there. So you can make a mistake, and that's not that much of a big deal if as it is the fact that you don't face your mistake. So I myself am talking about things that I had to deal with. Like I said, I had troubles with some campaigns. I had troubles. Why I don't want to launch another campaign, and at, at least at the time being, because I know that right now I won't be able to deliver the product on time. I don't
Mhm.
have time to spend on designing a deck, on talking to the printers, on making everything, on creating everything. I don't have the time, so I don't want to rush it. But
Right.
there were moments when I did rush it because I didn't take it in the proper way. I didn't think about all this stuff that I'm mentioning. So, like I said, I already had this problem. So think a lot about it if you're going to start a Kickstarter.
that's
Yeah.
definitely good
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah. And I mean, like, one, actually, since you mentioned that you had problems now, I know, I know there's, I mean, let's take, for instance, Lorenzo's Keymaster Tarot deck. And just the amount of things he's offering with that campaign is so much. And everything comes in at different times, so there might be something that maybe didn't print properly or, manufacture properly. So you might have to wait for that. And I know for King's Game, you have these, were they wallets, kind of?
Yeah.
The leather wallets or cases that you were doing all by hand, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, that takes a lot of time to prepare that stuff, and things come in at different times. And I'm sure, that obviously affects your campaign deadline and things
Exactly.
like that.
And the moment that you make a mistake, or not just you, or the whole process, there's a mistake in the process, and you're too tight on time, you don't set times with a proper, how do you say that?
Deadline? Like a proper
No,
deadline?
no. In Spanish, we say it margen.
Oh, yeah, margen. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sure that's it's similar in English, but I don't know. Anyway, if you said it that if you say that you're going to spend 1 month doing something, and then for whatever reason you can't do it in 1 month, and it takes you 3 months, then you've got a problem. So
Yeah,
it's better
that's
that
true.
if there's a chance that you're going to take 3 months, then set the deadline to 6 months, and then you will be sure to deliver on time. So,
Right.
so I had issues with deadlines. My main issue was with deadlines with all
Yeah.
my campaigns. So that's why I said no rushing. That's so the problem here is if you're doing a mistake in Kickstarter, it's really really important. Kickstarter or anything you're doing, it's really important that you face it. There are many people who make a mistake and then kind of hide
Yeah.
behind the the computer. They hide behind the PC. They hide behind the fact that people don't know me. Well, that's not going to work if you want to have a future in this community.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, and I mean, a perfect example of that is Area 52. And they had a couple decks before, and they funded and they delivered, and then they had a new deck that came out, the Kruger deck, or Kruger. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it funded, and just that's it.
Yeah, they never fulfilled. They printed, and
never fulfilled it.
Sold it to Murphy.
Didn't keep people updated. Updated people after like 6, 8, 9 months or whatever it is, and then within their information, they're lying, saying that blaming it on Murphy's or blaming it on the someone who offered a product in the campaign, whether it was like the little vials with cards in them, and the potions, I guess you can call them, and just not being honest. Like you said, you just have to be honest. You have to own up to it and just say, look, a prime example is Andre, who we had on last week, and I mean, his butterfly deck has been through the ringer with Katamundi. And I'm sure him dealing with that throughout this time, it was supposed to be delivered in November already last year.
Yeah.
So dealing with that, he's been very open and honest, and that just allows us to be like understanding more rather than just hiding things, Yeah.
Exactly. That's pretty much it. I would say that that's the main point.
Yeah.
But it's not just exclusive to playing cards or the campaign. It's just something that you have to do in your life if you want people to trust you. If not,
absolutely.
So that's pretty much it.
I mean, everybody, that's the end of the show. She honestly has said whatever. She just literally solved our life problems. Just be honest and don't be a douche. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Thank you.
Do your homework. Don't be a douche. Just be honest.
Fulfill your promises. Yeah.
Fulfill your promises.
And I think it's it's interesting to hear how you've obviously grown from your first instances until now, and obviously you feel much more confident in the Kickstarter and are cognizant of the fact that because you don't have time, you're not going to launch one, because clearly it is a huge time commitment. And I think that's the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is Kickstarter isn't just like you launch the campaign and forget about it until 30 days go by. Like, it's a constant work throughout the whole thing and beyond.
It is. It's pretty much the campaign is nothing compared to everything else that you have to do. So the best way is to have everything ready before you start the campaign. That's something that I learned through the different campaigns that I've done. At first, I just had some cards designed. Then in the next campaign, I designed more cards. And for the last campaign, I already had pretty much everything designed, because designing, if you don't have everything ready and finished, it's going to take you a lot of time after your campaign is finished and funded, probably. Just tweaking all the small details, finishing all the extras that people aren't seeing, doing everything. And then the printing issues. Let's not forget about that, because everyone thinks that, okay, I have the design and that's pretty much it. Well, no, because you have to send your design. If your design doesn't work well, for example, in the King's Game campaign, what happened was that they printed all the tokens with gold foil, the white and the black tokens. And I was like, okay, they are sending this as an example, but they're going to print it in the copper and silver.
Interesting. Yeah.
And silver foil, and then the gold foil. Well, they didn't. They printed everything in gold foil. And I was like, please, no. We are already behind time and behind the deadline, and now this. Well, they had to print everything again. The white tokens, they have all the, I think that there were 500 tokens. They have them in their warehouse, lying there, because I'm not going to use them.
Just the talk boxes?
What exactly? Yes. Fortunately, but
I'm like, whoa! They have like 500 decks there, or is it just
no? Just the boxes, because the cards were fine, but that can happen, and it happens to a lot of designers. It happens all
Yeah,
the
it
time.
does. Yeah.
One single mistake, it's a whole new run to print, and that's not like 2 days to print it. It has a process. Mainly, if you want a good finish, if you want sturdy cards, it's going to take a lot of time. They don't print
Yeah.
in a week or two. They are going to take from 1 month to 2 or 3 months, depending on who you're printing with. That as well.
Yeah, I actually just got some information that the way they print is on schedules. So,
Yes.
for instance, which not many people know this, if you're a designer, you probably know it, but Katamundi prints on schedules. So maybe like Tuesday and Friday is like cold foil day or whatever it is. But
Exactly.
you know, so if you don't get your concepts in and ready to print on that Monday, if they go to print on Tuesday, you know, they might print once a month or once every 3 weeks. And if you don't get it in, you're going to have to wait 3 more weeks, no matter what. It doesn't even matter.
And all the time you're going to have to explain why is it taking so long. So
yeah. And that's just the way it is. And you know, someone brought that to my attention, and they're like, you know, they were a day late and they had to wait a month because they'd only print certain foils once a month because they're not that popular, I guess.
Yeah.
So if you mess up, you got to print the next month or 3 weeks or
pretty much. So everything is important.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. So we have an issue, Tyler. Here's our issue, family. So it's not a bad thing, Karin. It's not a bad thing, but Karin doesn't have a deck with her currently to sniff. So Tyler and I are going to give a little props to our last week's designer, magician, entrepreneur, crazy man.
Say his last name, Steve.
Crooked Eater.
Crooked. Oh, dude, crickets are not that bad. I ate some last weekend.
You have your crickets?
They're in the pantry, but I did eat a bag of crickets this last weekend. So they're interesting.
Nice. What we're gonna sniff butterfly decks.
Yes.
Just for you, Stu. We haven't seen Stu on here, man.
What I gotta say? I think mine might have been opened a while. It's a first edition, so I think it's just.
No, the first edition smells different. The stock is so different on the first edition.
It's very subtle.
It's subtle, but it's definitely chemical-y.
Yeah. But yeah, so there you go.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not gonna comment on that.
There you go, Stu. We love you.
I mean, hey, you know, it's how can you appreciate a deck in its full form if you don't know what it smells like, right?
Right.
It doesn't smell good, but it smells like something. So, I love it.
Cards of the new wine. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. You can tell the year and the vintage and the make and everything.
Yeah.
So it was funny because when we had Stu on a while ago now, I think that was episode 10 potentially, so 14 episodes ago, we actually had him do a blind sniff test, and he was able to identify the printer based on the smell of the deck. So, which was impressive to say the least, because I surely could not do that, except with the ones that are like really like obnoxious smelling. But yeah.
She's like, weirdos.
I don't buy it. I think after the show she's gonna go smell a deck of cards. And
of course, dude. Are you kidding me? Right behind that door right there, there's like stacks and stacks of decks.
King's Game. Just go up and smell it.
Yeah, we're not stupid. She's got some decks there. She understands, and I don't blame her.
Oh my gosh. But I think one of the things that always kind of fascinated me, though, too, about the designs you do is they really are so intricate. And it's funny because I think in the playing card industry, and we've discussed this with a lot of people, and I feel like I say this very frequently, but there really is a deck for everyone. And like you said, you're into books, and that's why you kind of went with books. But even your style of being very intricate and very, I don't want to say traditional because they're not traditional, but very like classic styling of your decks. Why that route versus, rider back similar like inspirations or cardistry decks? Maybe cardistry wasn't as big, you know, when you first started getting into it, but why that route?
Well, because it's just my style. I just can't get my brain around minimalist designs. I just don't understand them. I can't do that.
All right. I mean, that's fair enough.
I don't have the talent for that.
I mean, I don't know.
Should we throw her under the bus and ask her 5 worst deck? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god, no. I feel
Totally
like not
kidding.
all minimalist designers though even have the ability to do minimalism well, because I think with the playing card, it's so easy to overdo minimalism. You have such a small canvas and all the details stand out so much that if you don't do it right, it just doesn't, like, the void space speaks so much more. And I think we've seen that a lot, especially on the back design. You can get away with a lot, you know, even if it's like whatever could be there. I think the courts though is where it really comes into play. And I don't even remember what deck it was, but we were looking at a deck recently, and basically everything, like all of the bordering, all of the accent colors were gone, and it was literally just 2 colors. It was white for the background and like red or white and black. And while I understand they were trying to go for a very minimalist approach, it just looked unfinished.
You talking about the Wolfram decks?
I honestly, I couldn't even tell you what deck it is at this point. I feel like we've seen so many. I feel like we actually see this relatively often, where people leave off things like the borders, but don't do anything to supplement the empty space there. And it ends up making it look like the card is so unfinished, because I think even if you like different style cards, the courts themselves have such a kind of common look to them.
Yeah.
Even if they look completely different, the underlying elements always seem to be so common. So I think that's where probably minimalism also becomes difficult.
Well, yeah, like everything else. Well, in this case, that's why I said that I think that it's a talent on its own, because I seriously don't know how to do it. That's it. If you ask me to draw a stick man, it's gonna stink. Seriously. I can't do minimalist things. I can't. But I think that it's something that it's great if you have the talent to do it, because you're able to represent something, to give a meaning to something that's very extremely minimalist, but people will understand it and will like it nevertheless. You don't have to put all the detail to make it unique. So I think that's great. If you can do it, that's great.
It's like Lotrek was saying, like when we were talking about it, and you know, I went into the MoMA, which is the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, and on the wall, it was literally like 300 feet, like a humongous canvas, and it was just all pink. And I was like, people were like just looking up at it, like, oh my god. And I was like, what the F? Like, like literally my niece could do this. And this was, you know, obviously when she was 5 years old. And Lotrek's like, yeah, but you know what? Your niece didn't do it. Basically, it's like saying, you know, these things are easy, but we don't do it. And I think one of the biggest things for an actual graphic designer is when you see something that is so minimal and so easy, and it does so well, you're like, I don't understand. Like, how did that do so well? And it literally has a period on it. Like,
and I think a lot of it though too, similar to Kickstarter, is the story you tell behind it. Because you're selling, like, art in general, you're selling something. I mean, in life in general, you're selling something all the time, but art as well, you're selling your story. You know, you're presenting this visual representation of whatever your underlying theme or story is, and it isn't always cut and dry. You don't always look at it and see, oh, those are people sitting by a pond smelling flowers. There could be a million different things with it. So like that story you tell is so important. And I think even what you were saying earlier, Karin, about like having a great deck but still not being able to pull off a Kickstarter, that's another one where sometimes you see a great deck and there's just nothing about it. There's no depth to it. There's no connection with the creator, and it doesn't do great. And you're like, man, this could have done so well if they had just taken that one little extra step and told a story.
Exactly. They have the talent, but they don't bring it to the next level. Well, actually, I really like it when a deck, well, any design, has a meaning to it. And that's something that I do miss a lot in the decks. Mm, More so nowadays. They just make the design and that's it. No, if there's a meaning behind, for me, I'm saying there are many collectors who don't care about that. They like the design and that's it. And I respect that. It depends on you. If that's what you want, and that's what you're looking for, then good for you. I personally like a meaning behind a design and a story. If you are, for example, are going to make a soccer related deck, make something meaningful out of it, something that makes sense. Don't just put together, I don't know, like 12 players or whatever, and here you have a soccer deck. No, no. It has to be some insight and some meaning to it. That's what I think.
mean, Tyler stresses that we're both really big on stories, but Tyler is like the one that hits on it every time we do our recaps. Is like, just, you have to have a story. The story is great, even if it's something little that, when you were younger, you used to draw circles, or like it could be anything, just something that's gonna connect someone to something.
Exactly, it's interesting. That's it.
And I think ultimately it's easy to create a story. So when you don't, it's much more noticeable that there is no story. Like, again, like Steve said, you could literally come up with something along the lines of, like, when I was 8 years old, I went to a magic show and he did sponge magic with a little red ball. And so I've always loved little red balls. And that's why I put them on the back of a deck of cards. And there's at least something that people can relate to and connect to. Some people may also not relate and connect to that, but like, it at least gives a step there where someone could. And that literally came off the top of my head in 30 seconds. So when you don't have any story, it's like, all right, you didn't want to take 30 seconds. Why should I have any interest in your deck if you clearly don't have enough interest in it?
I have a good idea.
Yeah.
I think we should come out with a circle deck, and the meaning for it, for me, is that I'm a photographer and all the lenses have these caps on it. So every time I see a circle, it reminds me of the thing I love to do, which is taking pictures. And I love taking pictures because it connects me with people. And I love people because we all have different opinions. And hopefully you follow this campaign and you back it because you like circles too.
See, and that's the thing. That's literally how easy it is to come up with a story.
Exactly.
Whether it's true or not. And I think, honestly, Steve did a great job relating a true story there, that he loves photography and it ties into circles. So
that's it. And sniffed one too many playing cards.
Well, one night after sniffing 100 decks and playing cards, I came up with this phenomenal idea. That would actually be an interesting deck to see too. But yeah, I think it's interesting to see how. Again, I don't want to say it's easy because I don't think Kickstarter as a process is easy, but how easy it is to think of the things you have to do to then execute on. And like, again, planning goes into everything. If you don't plan ahead for this stuff, like you said, it's just not going to succeed. And it's always a shame. And I think one of the things that we always kind of, push as well is if you don't succeed the first time, and like you said, you had 2 campaigns that didn't fund the first time, but you figured out why, you revisited, and eventually they were successful. And I think that's the other biggest thing too, is if you really have a belief in what you're trying to create and you don't create it the first time, take a step back, get advice, figure out why, and relaunch when you're ready.
Don't give up.
Exactly.
If you really believe, like you said, if you really believe in what you're doing, don't give up. And it's not going to be easy, but it's not that difficult either. Just pull it off, thinking about everything. There's nothing that you can say, this is a small detail, I can overlook it. No, you can't overlook anything.
Yeah, that's so true. There's just so much to think about when you're creating anything, and when you add a campaign onto it, it just adds so much more. And
it's not something exclusive to playing cards or campaigns on Kickstarter. It's your way of life.
Yeah, and that's true. I mean, if you're not communicating with your backers, you're probably not doing that in your life either. You're not communicating with people. You're not I think our personalities, our way of being affects everything around us. And that's just telling, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Now, if so, I know you like intricate decks. You said you like, Lorenzo, and what is your top 5 favorite decks, not of yours? If you had to choose your top 5, what would they be?
That's a hard question, mainly because I don't follow the community as much as I would like to. But I would say that mainly the ones that I can remember right now.
Yeah.
Probably I will forget some of the decks that I like. But I really liked the Lorenzos. I don't remember the name. The previous campaign.
House of the Rising Spade.
That one. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
That's one of my favorite decks for sure.
And I also liked Steve Minty, I said at first.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Minty, whatever. I like his Greek gods inspired deck.
Okay.
And the Japanese inspired deck. I like that one a lot.
Right.
Actually, I have this one, and I seriously love that.
Mm-hmm.
The deck.
He's talented for sure.
Yeah, and I also like Seasons playing cards. Pretty much every deck. Every deck that
Alex is super talented.
That's something. That's another level. Seriously.
Yeah. He's amazing.
Exactly. Anything he creates, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
I would say that the last one, it's interesting. It's, if you leave aside the design, how he made the box with that mirror effect and everything else. I don't know how he comes up with this idea.
I have no idea either.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's definitely a brilliant dude. There's definitely only a couple people in the community that are that next level. Everybody else is just trying to do cool things, and they are. Like there's a lot of cool things that are that come out, whether it's OPC doing cool things that smell like the fruit, or just different things like that. But I mean, the things that Lautrec and Alex do, and Lorenzo with a 3D case for Keymaster and Gatekeeper, like just Steve Minty at putting like literally a lion's head or a wolf's head.
Stuff's impressive.
Like it's really cool, and I think that's really just thinking outside the box, and I really admire that. Not everybody can do that. They're not
obviously not. No.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think the thing with the collector community too is that's where that really gets appreciated. Like Steve said, there's ways to add something fun to your deck, whether it be smell or gilding and things like that. But the designers who really take it to the next level and do stuff people haven't done before, that's that's how you get remembered, and that's how you get these huge followings. I mean, if you really think about it, like any of the big names, they get like, I mean, that's where people come on and they see this whole like, oh, look at Steve Minty's last campaign. He raised $80,000, something like that. And they see that and they're like, I can design a Kickstarter deck, but I don't think they realize that it's like the cutting edge stuff. Yeah. It's crazy.
They incredibly, because they are extremely creative, and that's not something that most of the people can do. It's something that the big names can do because they have the big names because of something that they did. No, they became big because of a reason, and that's the reason. They are really creative, and the things they come up with, I seriously can't handle it. It's too much for my brain.
It's mind blowing, and I mean, it was funny because when we had, and I think you really see it. That's like genius level design there. We saw it with Lautrec when he was on. He literally pulled out a flute he had made out of plastic and played it, and it sounded beautiful. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, not only,
I mean, that's just Lautrec, but anything Lautrec touches is beautiful. Come on.
But like, that's that creative mindset that these guys really have, though. Like, they're next level. Like
that guy can create a crime and it would look beautiful.
Let's not find out.
The authorities would go into this room and they'd be like, "This is the most gruesome crime in the world, but it's beautiful."
Yeah.
I've never seen a crime scene so beautiful.
It's
there you have it.
interesting to see. Well, and like it's funny too because like even something as simple as like this is the cardistry touch decks. Like even as something as simple as like that, where it like pushes the cards up. Like
Brilliant.
it really is though, and like it's so simple, but like who else has done it? And like that's where it really counts. Like you don't have to be you don't have to be necessarily earth-shattering with it. You have to be the first person to bring something new to the table that just works and like surprises people.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, they're not the first person that did that, obviously, but they're the first person in the card community because like things like that have been done. Like, it's a perfect example is the original Luna Moon decks, the ones with the boxes that open up into like this crazy accordion style, that they stole. But they eventually got the rights for it. But that's obviously just something new in the card community. But somebody had to look at that and be like, "Oh my god, that would be dope for a deck of cards." And I think that's the cool thing where not everybody can look at that. And I that's why we have designers and people that literally look out for stuff like that.
Well, it's like Title said. It's because if you take it seriously, it's something that it's obvious with the product that you take out. So you can look at Lautrec's decks and you know that he takes every single detail seriously, not just how he finishes his work. He does everything himself. Have you seen many people doing that?
No, nobody does it. Like literally not one other person does that.
Well,
not to that level.
There you have it. So that's it. And if he takes it seriously, you take him seriously, and you just love his work because people like, in general, it happens to everyone. People like hardworking people. That's it. You look at someone, you see how seriously they are taking their job, whatever it may be, and you take him seriously as well.
Yeah,
you like whatever he's doing.
That's so true.
That makes sense. Yeah, and it's really just it's one of those things that I think people need to take into consideration, though. Too, it's just like when you're that invested in it, you do go those extra steps, those small things. I mean, somewhere I know there's an image floating around too of Lautrec like measuring the tolerance of his like uncut sheet with like a ruler, and I'm like, all right, like they're not doing that at USPCC because otherwise the decks would be coming out straight. But it's like crazy to see how much like attention to detail goes into so much of this, and I think that's what makes a successful designer. But I think the cool thing about this though too, and becoming a Kickstarter designer for playing cards or really anything where you come to Kickstarter, you actually gain another skill set on top of that. You also become a business person. You have to think about all these other logistical things that that's why you could be the best designer in the world, but if you don't have the mindset to figure it all out, you either have to partner with someone else or you don't make it like that. So
exactly, that's it. That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
exactly.
I need to get this up before I forget, and I'm gonna so I just got this just by a couple people writing in here, and it made me think. Lautrec is like the cards community version of like Chuck Norris. All those memes that are about Chuck Norris.
Okay, I don't understand the name at first.
Okay, so if you look up Chuck Norris, he has these crazy memes about like fighting, I think people should create these memes for the card community about Lautrec. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. So somebody who's good at creating memes, go do it.
So Jamie, Bacon Wise is kind of doing that with his most recent posts, where he's creating all these like little almost like wanted poster style things. So if anyone hasn't seen that, check out Bacon Wise on Instagram.
Yeah, he's Jamie's a funny dude, but we need someone to do Lautrec, the Chuck Norris version of Lautrec. So let's get on that. We have a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Hashtag Karin Yan episode on Deckin Around.
There we go.
Yeah.
So Karin, at some point, and you kind of mentioned that a lot of this for you is time, and obviously you don't have time working full time and studying. Are there aspirations that eventually deck design would become a full-time thing for you?
Just deck design? I don't think so. I would have deck design as part of a full-time design career.
Okay, which I think makes sense. I feel like playing card design, depending on, where you're at with it may not be as fulfilling
Exactly.
for some people.
Well, not just that, but because I like working on many things. Because, for example, with the gems cards, with the gems playing cards, I had the opportunity to find freelance jobs working for branding and designing jewelry. How do you say that? A
Jewelry?
collection. A
Yeah,
collection.
that's all. Which,
Okay.
yeah, that's awesome.
Which has nothing to do with playing cards, but they saw my designs on Instagram. They liked them, so from there, I went to doing branding projects, and designing rings and bracelets and necklaces and whatever.
That's
cool.
really
So,
cool.
and I like that. I like working on different things. I like trying different things. That's the best about designing. So that's why I also started designing playing cards.
That's cool. Well, we're blessed that you started, and
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, it's definitely a treat. And I mean, one thing we talked about is just I think this was pre-show. We were just talking about we need more women in the community, more women designers. There are a few that might be more well known. But I think it's really important to highlight those designers and show that there are just, not just men designing. But I think a cool way to get it out there is just, like you said, with stories that, that touch us and that mean something. And whether it's, doing interviews or something. I think it's important getting the female designers out there because they're super talented. Have you noticed any type of, I guess, like from when you first started to now, noticed any type of change in females in the community, whether it's designers or?
Well, to be honest, it's something that I never thought about. Seriously, because like I said before when we spoke, I don't really care about who is behind doing something if I like what they are doing. So whatever, even if it's where they are from, who they are, even if it's a male or female or whatever, I don't care about that.
Yeah.
So since I don't care, I never paid attention to it. And I think that in the collecting world, in this community, people don't think that much about who is doing something. They like what they are doing, and that's pretty much it. And that's what
Yeah, I
I
agree.
like and respect. Because if there is a collector who is a woman, she's not going around telling, I'm a woman, I'm a collector. They just are collecting. They are people.
Yeah.
I like what people do, and they like what other people do. That's what I'm seeing. It's not a community that pays too much attention to these things. At least that's what I think. I've never seen it. I've never seen it in comments. I've never seen it in the campaign itself. I've never seen it anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think that they care much about it. So if they're females, if they're women who think that they can't get into this community because there aren't many other women around, I don't think that's an issue, because people will embrace you anyway. If you are doing a good job, they will take you in and they will help you out and they will talk to you and they will give you feedback. That's not a problem. They don't care about your gender. At least that's what I think. I don't think that anyone knew that I was a female until very recently. So it's not something that you talk about. You just do your job and that's it.
Yeah. Well, I think too, with the idea of the brand behind it, people don't always look behind the brand to see.
Yeah, so it's funny. I'm like the complete opposite. I'm literally the complete opposite. I'm like, I want to know who is behind the brand. I want to know who I'm supporting. I want to know what type of person that is. And that might be obviously to a fault, but I think, like I said to you before, it's like, you don't care, but a lot of people want to know who is creating it so they can see if they are creating anything else, whether it's outside of cards or anything, because usually when you like a creator, you kind of want to grab things, that they've created, whether it's an art piece or something else, and that's a way to do it.
In this case, I think that they will care. That's my opinion. They will care about you. They probably want to know who is behind the deck, the designs, and so on, but not so much if you're from Spain, if you're from Germany, if you're from the United States, if you're Mark, if you're Michael, if you're whatever, if you're Anna, if you're Maria. They don't care about that. They want to know, okay, is this person a serious person? Is this person a normal person? Is this person doing something else? And that's it. Is this person not? Is this woman? Is this man? I think that I've never seen anyone saying anything because you're a woman or you're a man in this community.
Right.
At least me. If you've seen otherwise, let me know. But I haven't.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very valid point.
It's like in the game community, you can say that it's something just for the male community. No, I think that there are a lot of women in the game world. There are many players, there are many designers, and no one cares about that. They just care, okay, you're a good worker, you're a professional person. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, the game world that's changing now, but the game world is a whole different story. Women in the game world are definitely treated differently for sure. But now with like Twitch, there's so many people just like watching people playing games, whether they're females or males or
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That
awesome.
It's cool.
We shouldn't pay attention to it. When you pay too much attention to something, then you are trying to make a difference. That's what I think. If you don't think that it's something, if you don't want to make a difference, if you want everyone to be the same, then you don't have to pay attention to the main difference between two people.
Right. Yeah, no, touche. Card Game said, I'm the investigator. Karin is the live and let live. It's funny.
No, that's what I think.
Tyler's the same way. Tyler's the live and let live.
I'm very much a live and let live kind of person, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of live and let live, but as long as you're, after my investigation, if you're a nice person and if you are, a decent human, then I live and let live.
That's too funny.
But before that, there's gonna be some investigating to do.
So whatever. Be it male, be it female, if you have something good to put out there, then get into it, and that's it.
So
just do your homework first.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Exactly. So one of the questions we actually had come in earlier that I think was kind of an interesting one. Would you ever consider doing a collaboration within the community for a deck of cards?
Oh, that'd be cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
If I can handle it, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm guessing I don't want to say
don't do it with Lotrek because you guys will never deliver it.
He is known for being behind schedule all the time.
And you said that yours are behind schedule, so maybe you guys shouldn't collaborate. unless you have someone looking over your shoulder that's like, this has to be done at this time.
Yeah, there you go. You bring someone on who keeps all the timelines up to date and good to go. So
exactly.
That would be too funny. I mean, have you ever really considered doing collaboration in the past, or not really?
Yeah, I have considered it, but actually, there was a time that I was working closely with someone to make a collaboration, but in the end, it didn't work out precisely because of the time.
Yeah,
because I couldn't handle it, so we stopped it. We left it. But I don't really think anything bad about it. I think that it's something interesting to try, though I don't know when. If the idea is good, I have to be invested in the idea. If I don't believe in the story behind the design, I'm not going to do it. If it's not something I can relate to, I'm not going to do it because it won't work out.
It's hard to sell a product you don't stand by. That's like
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to do that.
Exactly.
Luke has a question. He says, "What are the kings on the tuck of King's Game thinking if they are not thinking about their next move?"
Well,
that sounds like a Kyle question.
In the box.
Yeah, on the box. It does sound like
that sounds like a Kyle question.
Well, actually, the kings in the talk are playing one with the face and the back. They are two players for the same game. If you look closely at the board, the board follows. If you put together both decks, one side
Oh.
and the other side, they are playing together.
Oh,
And
interesting.
Very cool.
and the play is one of the most famous plays. I looked up different plays, historical records of different plays, and I put together the setting of the pieces. I put together one of the most famous plays in the history of of chess. Okay,
That's so cool.
so that's pretty much it. They are making a move according to that play.
That's
That
very
is so cool. Oh my God, that's the coolest story.
Dude, again, the level of detail and thought that went
Oh,
into that is so awesome.
yeah. So I have actually a question with the tuck boxes. So the tuck boxes that are sitting at Catamundi, have you ever thought about getting them and basically signing them and like sending them out, or even selling them as kind of like prototype ones and just send
It's
them out with orders? Or
I didn't print it with Cardamone. I printed with EP.
all right,
Expert
EPCC.
playing cards.
Right.
So no, I don't think that it would work out
Yeah.
like that
Mm.
because I don't see the point on doing that. It's
It's a
lost
lot of work.
money.
It's
It's
a lot
lost
of work.
money. Let's
Yeah.
forget about it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
I just see it as lost money. That's it.
Makes sense.
No, I'm
And
not
I
going
think
to do
Yeah,
that.
that's an interesting
Paul?
one too because go
Go
ahead, Steve.
ahead. No, go ahead, buddy.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's an interesting one too, because then if you do plan on releasing other things into it, putting those out kind of could contradict or interfere with plans there. So
Exactly,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
done. What's done is done. Let's forget about it.
Right on. Paul says, if you could have a private chef or a private jet, what would you choose?
I didn't understand that.
like a private chef. If you could pick one for yourself, a private chef or a private plane to have, which would you rather have?
I still don't understand that.
So a private chef, someone who cooks for you,
Okay, a private
or
chef.
a private jet. Basically, you can fly wherever you want.
A chef.
Yeah,
I'm a private chef. A private Italian chef. Oh,
There you go.
pizza all day long, please. Yes.
That would be too funny.
Nice. That's a good one.
I think I can completely get behind that. Food is amazing. You can fly on a plane anywhere, even if it's not your own plane.
Yeah.
Food all the time
Food.
sounds delicious. Yeah.
A
Italian
private
food,
chef is
please.
definitely.
Yeah.
I
Italian
pick the same
food.
thing.
Italian
Yeah,
food.
I agree.
Okay,
But
that's my
Luke's
god.
Luke's on fire with questions. Yeah, he says your illustrations hold so much more emotion than a lot of illustrations manage to make. Do you put yourself inside the character when you're drawing them to make your drawings more authentic? In
That
other
reminded-
words, you dress up like a king and put a chessboard in front of you.
Well, if you've ever tried to make a drawing, you can relate to this question because, well, actually, I'm pretty sure that you've seen jokes going around with this when you're trying to make a smiling face and you're smiling while you're drawing. Well, yes,
So
I do
true.
that. I do that a lot. Yes, I do relate to the character a lot because you don't think about it, but you're trying to make exactly the same face that you're drawing. And that aside, I try to understand the character that I'm drawing, and that
Mhm.
is, for example, for cards like the Musketeers cards or the Monte Cristo cards, those characters have actually a personality behind them. You get to know them through the book. It's
Yeah.
not like, for example, in the King's Game or in the Nouveau decks. There you have just a general character. You don't know who it is. You don't know the story behind this character. But in the books series, yes, you do know them. You know who the character is, and you know his story. So I try to relate to that story when depicting the feeling that I'm trying to achieve. So for example, the characters that had a really tough life, like they spent the, I'm not sure if you have if you know the storyline of the books. Monte Cristo, do you know his story?
Yeah.
What happened to him? Okay, so I tried to put the hatred that he was feeling pretty much for his whole life after he got out of the prison. I tried to portray it in his eyes. The eyes is the most important part of any drawing, of any picture, of everything.
I agree, 100%.
So I try to portray everything in the eyes.
That's cool. No, that's, I mean, not everybody does that, and I think that's really cool. I think a lot of people just draw, and whatever comes out, you know, and well, it's definitely different. I mean, it's just like photography. You know, some people take pictures of people, they take portraits, but some people actually bring an emotion across in their portraits, you know, and I think there's a huge difference, probably the same for, you know, drawing or illustrations.
I think if it's like when you're cooking, at least if you want to cook, at least you have to know how to eat. If you don't know how to taste food properly, you can't cook properly. That's impossible.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's pretty much the same with drawing. If you're looking at something that you're doing and you aren't feeling anything from this drawing, it's not going to work out.
Yeah, no, for sure. What suggestions do you have when looking for a freelance card designer? How to find one and what is important?
Well, the most important, if you're someone who is trying to find a designer for your idea, is that the style is to your liking. The style is the first thing. And after that, look at the projects that this person has worked at. It doesn't have to be related to playing cards. It can be any kind of project. Try looking into those projects. Try looking into the delivery of those projects, if it worked out, if it didn't, and that's the most important. If you like the design and if the person is serious enough to actually make your design a reality.
Yeah. I mean, that's like Riffle Shuffle, you know, bringing Nathan Oser on. It's, you know, they found someone who never created a card deck, and, you know, he was a great artist, illustrator, and, you know, they did just that. They brought him on. They liked his style, and you know, obviously they created a couple decks with him. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a new designer, it's a gamble. If you want to try it, you can try it. That's not a problem, because just because it's someone new in the design world, it doesn't mean that this person can't deliver a product. Right. It just means that it's new, and you can give him a chance or give her a chance.
Yeah.
Just look for the style. First of all, look for the style. If the style that isn't to your taste, then look for someone else. That's it.
Yeah. Don't be stuck on that person just because you're like, there's immediate stuff.
The style has to match with your idea. Your idea. If you want to make something that has a lot of meaning to it, and you are picking a minimalist designer, it's not gonna work.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So I mean, it's so true. Yeah. You can't go to someone and like someone that does like illustrations or like cartoons or something, and you just like their work, and then you want them to create some really intricate detail.
Really?
You know, it's kind of like tattoos. You're not going to go to a geometric tattoo artist and have them do watercolor tattoo. You know,
exactly.
I mean, you can, but you're not going to get a good watercolor tattoo.
Oh, that's just stupid. It's pointless.
Yeah, no, exactly. But a lot of people don't care, and they just go to any tattoo artist for anything, and then they're stuck with a crappy water tattoo.
Exactly. They're stuck with anything.
Yeah, exactly. A tramp stamp or whatever.
So one of the other traditions we have on this show is, because I see Kyle popped into the chat here, we have what we call a Kyle question every week. And these are kind of don't know the best way to explain it. Like maybe like
they're weird. They're weird.
They're strange questions. They're like nonsensical questions to some extent, and they don't have much to do with anything really. They're very probative, but they're interesting. So the question for this week is, what's something that doesn't really smell great, but you keep wanting to smell anyway?
That's a good one, Kyle.
Honestly, when he asked it, I thought it was a riddle at first. I'm like, what's the answer? He goes, it's not a riddle. And I'm like, oh.
Well, let me think about that. Cheese. Probably.
All right.
Cheese, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, I feel like that makes sense. I would have said like gasoline, but
What the hell? No.
I like to smell like gas. It doesn't smell bad, but cheese is cheese is another good one.
Cheese.
I don't know. Yeah,
I'm
thinking like something weird. Like I think like something weird.
Yeah.
Well, there are weird cheeses.
Kyle says Fots.
Of course he did. Kyle's a grown child.
Oh please, like dude, every single grown person.
I mean, I think that's what every person thought of first, but still,
Of
maybe
course.
it's not Karin here, but
That's funny.
Let's be professional.
Card game said, Steve, show your tats then. Is that meaning that I got watercolor tats from a geometric tattoo artist?
That could be.
Yeah.
They're trying to insinuate I have horrible tattoos. Terrible.
Well, as long as they have meaning to you, Steve, that's all that matters.
Right?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
I got a Luke Wadey tattoo. Look.
Oh my God.
There you go.
That's one thing I don't understand. What if you got like a brand name tattoo, like say Nike or something, and then all of a sudden you find out that the like owner of Nike's racist and he like is part of the Ku Klux Klan or something like.
That was a hypothetical. We're not saying that.
Yeah, hypothetical. Someone's gonna take this clip and be like, co-host of Deckin Around says it's like CEO of Nike's racist and he's in the KKK.
All hypothetical.
No, but like, what if you have like the Nike symbol? And I mean, obviously you have to cover that up unless you're a racist and in the KKK. But yeah,
I feel like a lot of people just like brand tattoos, but don't think the long-term aspect of it. It's never been one of
so weird. It's especially nowadays, like people say crazy things, and it's like, oh damn, I have that tattoo on me.
No, without a doubt.
Exactly.
So, you like that tattoo, Luke? Luke like my tattoo.
There's people for everything out there.
Without a doubt. Just like cards, tattoos are unique to the individual. Something one person doesn't like, another person could absolutely love.
That's so true.
That's just how it goes. It's a crazy world to see that. And I think, you know what, if nothing else, and I have to say this, I think one of the things that granted I have tattoos, so maybe I'm biased, but like I love about tattoos is what it really says to me is people that are starting to get a better appreciation of art in general. More people like art enough that they want to put it on their body. And like whether it's good
or they just drink a lot.
I mean that too, but even still, maybe you're drunk and you like art. I don't know, but like I think the underlying idea of a tattoo is like it's art. I don't think you call it a tattoo like a tattoo artist. Like it's an interesting thing where I think just people in general like art more now, and they're more open about their like of art. You don't have to go to a museum to find art anymore, which I think is exciting.
Well, that's because at museums, all they have are pink canvases on the wall.
Well, that's also because there are many artists right now who can show their works.
Yeah.
Their work, something, and that's something that you couldn't do back in the day. So that's why people are appreciating it more, because you have more access to it. Yeah,
that's true. Websites and Instagram and TikTok and all these other things I can't even keep up with.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Steve's not a fan of TikTok, so it happens. But
do you have TikTok, Karin? Are you one of those TikTok dancers?
No.
I feel like, Karin, you're probably even sparse on like Instagram. Like you use it when you need to.
Exactly, and you know that already. So,
Karin, we asked Karin for some photos, and she sent over a couple, and we learned about Karin that she doesn't like send over a lot of pictures. So the fact that she is here with us live is really an honor, and we're so grateful that you agreed to do this. So cool. Let's see.
No problem.
Do you have any tattoos, like brand tattoos or anything?
Nothing at all.
Nothing. Cool. That's cool.
But
That's
I do
rare
like
these
them.
days.
I do like them a lot. I follow a lot of tattoo artists. They are amazing. They do an amazing job. It's something that you can draw on a paper, but doing that on a body, that's something that it's amazing.
Oh yeah, I have no idea how they do it either.
I mean, there's such an understanding of the anatomy.
I look up to them a lot because it's crazy. When you draw, you know that it's not something that's simple if you're doing something good. And trying to do that on a body, it's
yeah, with like the crevices and curves and skin. All skin is different. Yeah, it's crazy.
Incredible.
Yeah, and that's the craziest thing that always gets me is different parts of your body age differently with a tattoo. So like a tattoo on your elbow, like the point of your elbow will wear off usually within 6 months. So like, yeah, you can put a whole bunch of color into it, but it's not going to be there. And trying to build a design around understanding the different types of skin there, it's insane. It is
body.
Yeah. And I think, having that understanding then leads also to other aspects of it where like, I mean, like I know when I've gotten tattoos in the past, it's like it's bleeding a lot. And obviously like, you raise your arm over your heart and it slows down the blood and everything. But like crazy stuff my tattoo artist has told me about like when I'm feeling sick and he's like, oh, your body's doing this, this, and this. And I'm like, why do you know that? And he's like, well, that's what your body also does when you first get a tattoo. And so it's something he just knows from like what he's doing. And I'm like,
from experience.
I'm like, that makes a lot of sense, but I never would have like been like, oh, I'm gonna go get medical advice from my tattoo artist. So it's interesting.
You have fun with that, Tyler.
Well, so it's interesting though. In the United States, tattoos are technically considered minor surgery.
What?
Yeah, for medical purposes, a tattoo is considered minor surgery.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well,
because you're puncturing your body. Yeah, I mean, you're puncturing your body a lot, and it actually creates like a major healing like effect within your body. So there's a lot of.
I could trip down the stairs right now. Is that considered surgery?
No, but you would need surgery probably to fix it. So there you go.
Yeah, well,
but whatever. Let's see if we had any other questions coming in the chat here, guys.
Yeah, we got anything else for Karin, Bonafide Design?
Which I have to say, if you have not, I mean, I think first off, if you made it this far and you don't know who Karin is or her work, thank you for sticking around. But definitely go check out her Instagram, check out her decks. She does phenomenal artwork and putting them on a deck of cards. It's beautiful to see. Once you check it out, you will definitely be looking forward to future decks from her, though, as we heard, it might be a year or two, and that is perfectly fine. We are patient. But
Tyler is way more patient than I am. But
I'm a very patient individual when I need to be. So make sure to check out her Instagram, Bonafide Design. Give her a follow. Check out some of the pictures. Reach out, ask questions. Who knows? So
she's always responsive. She's very communicative, which is really cool. Not everybody is that way. So she's definitely one of the cool ones in the community.
I might have slow replying, but I will reply. That's for sure.
Yeah,
that's perfectly fine. Reply. Yes, yeah. We're used to slow replies with a lot of people in the community, so that's perfectly acceptable. And I think you know what, that's a good thing though too. And I think that also goes to the idea that in this day and age, people expect immediate responses. You don't need to get an immediate response. Patience is such a key with those kind of things because people have lives outside of social media, and being able to, if it was really an emergency and it's someone you know on a personal level, you give them a call on the phone. I feel like that doesn't happen that often these days. And when you do call people, they assume it's an emergency instead of you just wanting to be like, hey, how's your day going? So remember,
so true.
Yeah, have patience when you message anyone on social media, including Karin, so that she has some time to respond.
Yeah, just give her some time.
Yeah. Well, guys, we appreciate you all coming out to check out the show tonight. Karin, we really appreciate having you on as well and making the time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we know it's late, and we really do appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk to us about cards and cheese and whatever kind of came up here. So
sniffing cards.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I promise you, at some point or another, you're gonna have a deck of cards in your hand. And you're gonna be like, I'm just gonna see what this smells like, and You don't have to tell anyone, but we know you did it, so it's fine.
I think the title for this should be Karin Loves Sniffing Cheese.
Hey.
Do you sniff cheese?
We don't change the titles on these, thankfully, so you're safe, Karin. Don't worry.
Okay, thank
But
you.
before we sign off, guys,
I'm
make
glad
sure.
that I said cheese. I didn't say anything else.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, exactly. It's a good thing you didn't say FOTS, right?
it's definitely a safe space. There's no wrong answers here, thankfully. So if cheese was your go-to, perfect. We're not going to inquire too deeply there.
Actually, I want to inquire deeply. What kind of cheese?
I like everything, so I don't care about that.
There you go. Cheese is a delightful thing, so I get that. I'm not into the smellier cheeses, but
Me neither.
yeah.
But you will eat them anyway.
No,
So.
I won't.
Well,
yeah,
you're
I'll
losing
eat
on it.
Yeah, no, I'll eat anything. I literally ate crickets last weekend. I'll eat anything at this point.
I need a cricket before I eat stinky cheese.
The crickets weren't that good. They weren't bad, but they weren't that good. So I wouldn't. I mean, try them once, but I wouldn't recommend them. Yeah. So, well, again, Karin, thank you so much. Before we sign off, guys, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you again to our sponsor for this week, Lit Playing Cards, the Cardistry Baseball Series playing cards. They are live on Kickstarter right now. They are a awesome nostalgia deck. Check them out. If you've ever been into baseball or baseball playing cards, you are going to love this deck. Mike McClure did a great job. Brad did a great job. I think Brad was in the chat before. But the design and the nostalgia aspect behind it is just fun. I'm excited to see it all come together. Make sure to check that out, guys.
They got a stick of gum to go into the decks.
Yeah. So hopefully it doesn't melt. Hopefully it works out well. So, but before we forget to, next week, make sure to check out the show. We will be returning to our normal time of 8 p.m., I believe. And our guest next week is going to be Madi Gilbert, the magician.
Madi the magician.
Yeah, Madi the magician, Madi Gilbert. So you have some time, if you don't know who he is, to check out his Instagram as well. I believe it is Madi the magician. Cool. Phenomenal magician. He's been on Penn and Teller Fool Us. He's fooled them. He's just all around awesome. So make sure to check it out. He's a funny dude, too. Yeah. And we really appreciate all of you coming out to check out the show tonight. And again, Karin, we really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good one, everybody. Peace.
Good night.
Good night.